Si Wenlang. In Pingyanfu, Shaanxi Province, a talented man named Wang Pingzi went to Beijing to participate in the trial of Shunshanfu Township and leased an apartment in Baogu Temple to live in. In Baoguosi, he had come before him to be a neighbor of a Shuke from Yahang County, Zhejiang Province. Wang Pingzi handed over his business card and asked to meet him. But Mr. Yu ignored him. He met him in the morning or in the evening, and Mr. Yu was arrogant. Wang Pingzi was annoyed by his hubris, which discouraged him from dating. One day, a teenager visited Hakugo Monastery in a white dress and a white hat, looking a bit of a breather. Wang Pingzi came to talk to the teenager, and the teenager was witty and funny. Wang Pingzi, who was deeply admired the teenager, asked about his village and said, his family lives in Dangzhou State House and his surname is Song. So Miss Wang asked the old servant to take her seat, and the two men talked about each other. As Yu Hangsheng happened to pass by, they both rose to give up their seats. Yu Hangsheng actually took the seat. He was not modest. He asked Song Sheng again, "Did you come to Shunshanfu to take the country trial too?" Song replied, "No, I'm a man of low talent, without the ambition of Tanda." And he said, "What province are you in?" Mr. Song told him his family lived in Shandong Province. "I can see that you are very wise," Yu said. "Shandong and Shaanxi have no one who knows the script. There are really few people who know the script in the north, but not necessarily me," Song replied. "There are many people who know the script in the south, but not necessarily you." When he finished, he clapped and Wang Pingzi joined him in the chorus. Yu Hang, humbled, raised his eyebrows, rolled up his sleeves and muttered, "How dare you give it a go?" Mr. Song looked away, smiling and saying, "What are you afraid of?" Yahang hurriedly returned to his apartment and handed Wang Pingzi a copy of the Analects, which he asked him to write. Wang Pingzi flicked through the book, pointing out, "Q Dang's child will die." Mr. Yu stood up looking for ink and paper. Song Sheng held him back and said, "You don't have to write about it. Just say it. My question has already been written, where the guests come and go, the people who know nothing about them." Wang Huzi laughed. "You can't write at all. You only curse people. What kind of person are you?" Miss Yu said angrily, "Wang Pingzi is trying to mediate for both of them. Please find another good question." "Three sons have different opinions and they converge," Song replied. "What's the difference between husband and wife?" "It says, Renyi. Why should gentlemen be the same now?" Mr. Yu listens, then stops, standing up and saying, "You're a bit of a genius too." Then he left. Wang Pingzi has more respect for Song Sheng because of this. One day, Mr. Song was invited to his apartment, and the two talked for a long time. Wang Pingzi took out all the articles he had written and asked Mr. Song for his advice. Mr. Song was quick to read, and in a moment he had read hundreds of them. And he said, "You've done a great job of writing, but when you write, there's not a belief that you have to go after. There's just a fluke of success, and then your writing goes down the drain. Then take out the articles you've seen and explain them to Wang Pingzi one by one." Wang Pingzi was happy to treat him as a teacher. Let the people in the kitchen use cane sugar as the dumpling. Song Sheng ate the dumpling, which was sweet, and said, "I have never had such a sweet dumpling in my life. Please make it again for me someday." Since then, the two have become more congenial. Song Sheng must come once every 3 or 5 days, and Wang Pingzi must make dumplings for him to eat. Miss Yu meets occasionally, though not often, with much less arrogance. One day, Yu Hangsheng showed his articles to Song Sheng. Mr. Song saw a lot of punctuation and praise. I looked at it, and I put it on the table, and I didn't say a word. Yu Hangsheng doubted that Song Sheng had looked at it, and asked him for advice again. Mr. Song said it was all over. Yu Hangsheng doubted that Song Sheng could understand it. Song said, "What's so difficult to understand? Just not good." Yu added, "You only watched a circle of nods and likes. How can you know that?" Mr. Song recited his essays as if he had already read them. Recite while pointing out the fault with the article. Yu Hang was upset, sweaty and left without talking. After a while, Song Sheng left, and Yu Hang went into the room, resolutely reading Wang Pingzi's article. Wang Pingzi won't show it. It's like a dumpling. He scoffed at Mr. Wang's article, which he found clutching a tight circle. Mr. Wang's earthy character and lack of verbal skills meant he had to listen to him in embarrassment. The next day, Mr. Song returned, and Miss Wang spoke about yesterday. "I thought the South is over, Mr. Song said indignantly. "How dare this despicable boy cheat? When I have the chance, I must take revenge on him." Mr. Wang urged him not to be too mean to others. Mr. Song was deeply moved. After the examination, Wang Pingzi took out the examination paper and asked Song Sheng to read it. Song Sheng was very appreciative. One day, they stumbled into the hall and saw a blind monk sitting in the hallway, setting up a medicine stall and selling medicine. "This is an amazing man, Mr. Song said in surprise. "He knows everything and has to ask for his advice. Let Wang Pingzi go back to the apartment and get the article." Wang Pingzi came to the apartment and met Yu Hangsheng. Wang Pingzi went to the monk and called him a teacher. The monk thought he had come to seek medical treatment and asked him what disease he had. Wang Pingzi said he came to ask for advice on writing the article. Blind monk laughs. "Who's talking more? I don't have eyes. How can I comment on articles?" Wang Pingzi asked him to read it to him by replacing his eyes with his ears. With more than 2,000 articles in 3 fields, who can listen to them enduringly? I'd better burn the articles and let me smell them through my nose. Wang Pingzi followed his advice. The monk sniffed every article he burns, nodding. "You're following the lead of several famous people for the first time. You're learning something different, but similar." "I just got it with my spleen." Wang asked him, "Will such an article pass the exam?" The monk replied, "You can also take the test." Yu Hangsheng listened, but was not convinced. First, he burned an article by an ancient famous family member for a trial. Blind monks sniff through their noses and say, "Awesome. I'm taking this article with my heart. If it's not Gi Yuguang or Hu Yuxin, how can you write so well?" Much surprised, Yu Hangsheng started burning his own articles. The blind monk said, "I've just learned one article, but I don't know all the good things yet. Why change the article of another person suddenly?" Yu Hang postulated, "Friend's article, that's the article I wrote." The monk smelled the rest of the paper dust and coughed several times, saying, "Stop burning. Can't swallow it? Now barely swallow the chest. I'll vomit if I have another fever." Yu Hangsheng quit in shame. After a few days, the township test list was issued, and Yu Hangsheng finally excelled in the examination, and Wang Pingzi fell into the Sun Mountain's opposite name. Song Sheng and Wang Pingzi went to the blind monk and told him. The blind monk sighed and said, "I lost my eyes, but I didn't lose my nose." The exam officers were blind even. Later, Monsieur was born, crowing. "Blind monk, have you eaten their dumplings too? What is it now?" Blind monk laughs. "I'm just talking about articles. I'm not talking about fate with you. You might as well take one of the examiner's articles and burn it to the fire. I'll know who your teacher is." Mr. Yu and Miss Wang searched together and found only 8 or 9 articles by people. Yu Hangsheng said, "What's the punishment for misinformation?" The monk said angrily, "Cut my blind eyes out." Yu Hangsheng burned. For everyone burned, blind monks said no. For the 6th, the monk suddenly threw up against the wall and farted, and people laughed. The blind monk wiped his eyes and said to Yu Hangsheng, "This is your real teacher. At first I didn't know. Suddenly smell, nose and stomach irritation. Bladder cannot hold, directly from the anus out." Yu Hangsheng is furious and wants to leave, saying, "I'll come and see you tomorrow. Don't regret it. Don't regret it." After 2 or 3 days, his future showed up at his apartment and he had moved away. "That's how I know he's the examiner's protege. Anyone who is a student of ours should not blame others and should strictly restrain themselves," Song told Wang. "Ethics can be higher without blaming others, and learning can become deeper and deeper with strict self-discipline. It is bad luck to be unlucky at the moment, but to be fair, the article is already well written. In the future, there will always be people who are not blind if we redouble our efforts." Wang Pingzi listened, and with profound respect. When I heard that I had to hold a rural examination the next year, I stopped going home and stayed in Beijing to ask him for advice. Song told Wang Pingzi, "Chai me in Beijing is too expensive, but you should not worry about it. There is a cellar in the back of the house, and there is a lot of silver buried in it, so you can dig it out. And tell him where it's buried." The Song dynasty's Du Yi and Fan Zhongyan were poor, but they were very clean, Ms. Wang wrote. "How dare I sully my reputation now that I am self-sufficient?" One day, Mr. Wang fell asleep while drunk, and his servants and cooks sneaked to dig the gold cellar. Wang Pingzi awoke to find a sound in the back of the house and sneaked out to see that the silver was on the ground. They were on their knees in horror when things came out. I was about to berate them, and I found some gin glasses with letters on them, and when I looked at them, they were all grandfathers' names. Wang's grandfather, who lived here after arriving in Beijing as an official in the south, died of a serious illness, the silver money he had left behind. Wang Pingzi, Daxi once said, more than 800 liang in total. The next day, he told Song Shang and showed him the gold cup, wanting to share it with him, and Song Shang firmly refused. Wang Pingzi took another 100 liters of silver and gave it to the blind monk, who had already left. In the months since, he has been studying harder. The examination day is here again. Song says, if you don't make it again, it's really fate. Who knows? Wang Pingzi was disqualified from the examination for violating the rules. Wang Pingzi had nothing to complain about, but Song Shang cried, and Wang Pingzi consoled him instead. He said, God envy me, and I've been miserable for my whole life, and now I've had friends again. That's fate. That's fate. Everything in the world is always fixed, Wang said. Like Mr. Song, he doesn't want to take credit for it. Of course, your fate has nothing to do with my failure to take the test, wiping away tears. He said, I've been trying to tell you this for a long time. I'm so afraid of you. I'm not a living person. I'm a wandering ghost. When I was young, I had a lot of talent, but I was never going to make it to the top. I arrived in Kyoto in a fit of rage, hoping to get a profit to pass on my book. Who knows? Li Ji-sung died in the war when he attacked Beijing. I've been drifting around all year long, and I'm lucky to meet you and love you. So I'm trying to help you out, so that my best friend can fulfill my wish. Who knows how unfortunate our fate is today in the cultural arena? And who can remain indifferent? Mr. Wang, too, was moved to tears, asking him, why is it being buried all the time? Last year, God ordered Confucius and King Yanluo to examine the ghosts of the plague, prepare them for the official office, and then return the rest to life, he said. My name has been hired, and I didn't go because I wanted to see you happy after the exam. Now we have to say goodbye. Asked what official position he was taking, Mr. Wang said, there is a Sai Wenlang in the Zitong mansion who is temporarily called a deaf bookmaker's agent, which is why the Wenyan is turned upside down. If we get this official position, we must see the Holy Church spread. The next day, Song Sheng came in with great joy, saying, my wish has been fulfilled. Confucius asked me to do a theory of sexuality, and after reading it, he was so happy that he said I could be Si Wenlang. Yan Luoeng refused to employ me for the crime of unrestrained speech he made when he checked his life and death books. And only thanks to the struggle of Lao Fuzi did he retain this official post. I kowtow. Thank you. Before calling me to court, Kong asked me to say, now, because of your talent, I have chosen you to take on this noble and important post. You must change your ways, do your work earnestly, and stop making mistakes. From this perspective, it can be seen that Yin Cao values morality more than literature. You must be of unfinished character. In the future, you just need to accumulate good deeds and not let go of them. Wang Pingzi asked, if so, how about you Hangsheng's virtue? He said, I don't know. The Yin and Cao are clearly punished, and there is no mistake. That is the blind monk we saw the other day. Also a ghost, who is a famous former dynasty monk, only for abandoning too much writing paper and making him blind. He wanted to redeem his sins by offering medical treatment, so he often came to the hot spots. Wang Pingzi ordered someone to prepare the wine. "No, I don't have to. I don't have much time left to bother you all year round. And it's enough to prepare some dumplings for me," Song said. Wang Pingzi was so upset he didn't want any of it, so he ate it there himself. Song Sheng ate 3 bowls and carried his belly. "This meal can last 3 days without hunger. I'm doing this to show that I don't forget the benefits of your treatment. I used to eat your dumplings. They're buried in the back of the house. They're mushrooms. Take it. Hide it. Make medicine. Take it, and get smarter." When he would meet again, Mr. Wang asked him. Mr. Song said, "Since you are an official, you should avoid suspicion." And he said, "If you go to the temple of Emperor Wenchang to pray for the memory, can you do it? 9 days is too far away. So long as you are clean and healthy, as long as you have people from your own local government report, then I will definitely know." After saying goodbye to Heiko, he disappeared. When Miss Wang went to the back of the house, there were a lot of purple bacteria. "Collect it, hide it in a jar." There were new earth graves protruding next to it, and the dumplings that Song ate seemed to be there. When Miss Wang returned home, she studied harder. One night, "I dreamt that Song was in a car with an umbrella cover on it. I said, 'You once killed a maid by mistake for a little rage, and you removed your official position and name from the fortune book. Now your virtue has redeemed your crime. But your life is too thin, and you still have no hope of becoming an official.' That year, he took the Shunshin Fuxiang exam, and the next year, he took the entrance exam again. From now on, Miss Wang's ambition is not to push. 2 sons, one of whom was born dumb and had a sluggish head, were smart when Wang Pingzi gave him those mushrooms. Later, Yu Hengsheng came to Nanjing because of something else. It's humble to talk about the differences, but the temples are gray.
Alright, this story has come to an end. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you.